Struggling to get your accident report in New York? Watch this and never stress again. Welcome to this explainer. If you've recently been in a crash anywhere from the absolute chaos of the Cross Bronx Expressway to a quiet side street in Queens, you already know New York traffic is an absolute beast. But trying to navigate the DMV bureaucracy right after? Honestly, that can feel way worse than the crash itself. Today, we're going to completely demystify the process of getting your official New York accident report, step by step. Now, you might be wondering, why is this single piece of paper so crucial? At first glance, a police report just looks like your standard, run-of-the-mill administrative paperwork. But in reality, this official document is the absolute key to proving fault and unlocking your insurance settlement. If your case ends up in court, this document literally becomes Exhibit A. Your entire narrative is going to be built around exactly what is written on these pages.
So if you're feeling overwhelmed, take a deep breath. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, why accident reports matter. Second, where to start looking. Third, a step-by-step request guide. Fourth, handling common roadblocks. And finally, additional tips and resources.
Let's jump right into Section 1. Why accident reports matter. Insurance companies lean incredibly heavily on this official document, which is known as an MV-104A report, to either accept or flat-out deny your claims. When the police respond to a crash, they document the date, time, and exact location, and they gather up all the driver and witness contact info. They also note the weather and road conditions and often sketch out a diagram of the collision. But the most critical part of the whole shebang? The official contributing factors. If an officer checks a box stating that you were distracted or failed to yield, insurers will immediately use that to undervalue your claim. Make no mistake, the details on this form shape the entire outcome of your case.
Moving right along to Section 2. Where to start looking.
Okay, the absolute most critical rule of New York crash reporting isn't about how you request it, but when you request it. We call this the golden rule of 30 days. If it has been under 30 days since your accident, the report is held locally at the NYPD precinct where the crash was actually reported. But right on day 31, the precinct forwards that report straight up to the State Commissioner of Motor Vehicles. So if you're past that 30-day mark, your request has to go through the NYSDMV in Albany. The entire process completely changes based on the calendar.
Which brings us to Section 3, your step-by-step request guide.
For the fastest possible retrieval, you're definitely going to want to use the online portals. Step 1. Gather up your exact crash date, the county or borough it happened in, and either a license plate or DMV case number. Step 2. Depending on our 30-day rule, visit either the NYPD portal at collisionreport.nypdonline.org or the state portal at dmv.ny.gov. Step 3. Pay the required fees via credit or debit card. Once it's all processed, you can download your PDF. And here's a quick pro tip for you. Save that PDF to your computer immediately, because the download link usually expires after just 7 days.
Let's talk numbers. Online, you're going to pay a $7 search fee and a $15 report fee, bringing your total to $22. Now, if you go by mail, the search fee actually jumps to $10, making the grand total $25. And in true bureaucratic fashion, that search fee, it's completely non-refundable, even if they can't find your report. No way around it. However, there is a silver lining here. If you are still within those first 30 days, and you physically walk into the local NYPD precinct to request a copy in person, it is absolutely free. But if you decide to go the in-person or the mail route, you can't just show up empty-handed. You need some very specific paperwork. For the NYPD precinct within those first 30 days, you need 2 completed copies of Form PD-301-165. Past 30 days and dealing with the DMV by mail, you've got to use Form MV-198C. And hey, if you're mailing it in, do not forget to include a copy of your photo ID, the proper payment, and a self-addressed stamped envelope so they can actually send it back to you.
Let's head into Section 4, handling common roadblocks.
You know, even when you do everything perfectly right, you might still hit a wall. Searching the database way too early is honestly the most common way people waste those non-refundable search fees. So here's when you should actually expect your report to show up in the system. Give it up to 7 business days for an NYPD portal report. If the officer filed it electronically to the DMV, that takes about 14 days. If they used a traditional, handwritten paper report, manual data entry takes a solid 30 days. And if you had to self-report, that takes a full 60 days to process. Bottom line, don't pay for a search before these timelines have passed. Now, what if the police never even showed up to your minor fender bender? Well, pay really close attention to this number, $1,000.
Under New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law, Section 605, if a collision results in a fatality, absolutely any physical injury, or property damage exceeding $1,000 to any one individual, a formal report has to be filed. Even if the police didn't come, those rules still completely apply to you.
And this brings us to the incredibly serious 10-day rule. If your crash met that $1,000 threshold or involved any injury, and the police did not file a report, you are legally obligated to file a motorist crash report, that's Form MV-104, directly with the DMV within 10 days of the crash. Failing to self-report under these exact conditions is a misdemeanor, and the DMV can literally suspend your driver's license and your vehicle registration right then and there. Please take this rule very seriously.
Finally, we've reached Section 5, Additional Tips and Resources.
Okay, so once you finally navigate the waiting periods and the annoying fees, and you actually have that PDF in your hands, what's next? You need to review it immediately. Remember, police officers arrive after the crash happens, kind of piecing things together from bent metal and quick conversations. Mistakes happen constantly. It's like a giant puzzle. You need to meticulously check for incorrect vehicle positions, weather mischaracterizations, or any missing witness accounts. And most importantly, check those contributing factors we talked about. If the officer incorrectly wrote down, "Driver A failed to yield," that single sentence gives an insurance company the perfect excuse to just completely deny your claim.
So if you spot an error, you've got to act fast. Step 1, act within the first 30 days while the local precinct still holds the report. Bureaucratic corrections become much harder to get done once Albany gets involved. Step 2, gather your proof. We're talking photos of the scene, dashcam video, or written witness statements. Step 3, contact the precinct's records bureau or the responding officer directly and request that they file a written supplemental report to officially amend that error.
Also, keep this in the back of your mind. Accident reports don't just affect your insurance, they affect your overall standing with the state. The DMV runs a crash reevaluation program. If the records suddenly show you've been in 3 or more reportable crashes within an 18-month period, it automatically triggers a mandatory review. The DMV will require you to come in for an interview, and they can potentially force you to retake your vision, written, or even road tests just to keep your driving privileges. Before we completely wrap up, it's absolutely essential to note, the information provided in this explainer is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as formal legal advice. If you're dealing with a complex claim or serious injuries, it is always your best bet to consult with a qualified professional.
So, there you have it. You now have the complete step-by-step roadmap to get your official New York accident report without all the pulling your hair out stress. But I'm going to leave you with this one thought. Once you finally download that document, are you truly ready to interpret the specific fault codes and officer notes hiding inside it? Go pull your records, scrutinize the details, and take total control of your case. Thanks so much for tuning into this explainer, and definitely stay safe out there on the roads.